Here's my review of the Rasper Bowie by Sharp Blades. I'll have good and bad things to say about this. One of the bad things you can tell right away is, well, the tip broke off. But I'll get to that. So, first of all, what material is it made of? Well, I assume it's 14260 spring steel. I say assume because it doesn't say so specifically in the description of this buoy, but their other knives are made of 14260, so I assume that's what it is. So this steel apparently has a carbon content of 0.55, and it appears to be a stainless. There's not too much information about this from what I could gather. It appears to be a high strength, high hardness and wear resistance type steel. If you're a fan of the rustic style, and this is definitely up your alley. If you're more into mirror polish, then yeah, of course, that's a different style, so this might not be very appealing in that case. The handle scales are made of smoked oak and attached to the tang via brass rivets. You can see that's a very thick tang, so definitely substantial, no worries of breaking that one. And very nice grip shape. It seems inspired by a coffin hilt type buoy, and it works very well in the hand. Feels great. I have no complaints about that. You can see here it's a great shape, mostly rectangular with rounded corners, nice bevels, and that makes it feel really good in the hand. So I quite like that. The guard here, as you can see, has this hammered finish, which works pretty well in terms of aesthetics. As far as the initial sharpness is concerned, I did various tests, throwing, chopping wood. I didn't do any light cutting tests with this because it's pretty obvious that this knife can handle light cutting just fine. No problem. I was really mainly interested in the durability and overall build quality, so that's why I gave it some tougher tasks to handle. And yeah, it performed very well. Specifically when it comes to throwing a knife that's not made for it. Normally throwing knives are of course just a one-piece construction without any grip. So that usually puts a lot of stress on a knife, or an axe for that matter. And it's always a good way to figure out if there's any problem, if anything starts loosening up or rattling. No problems there, it actually throws quite well. And chopping with it is pretty easy. It's not overly long, but it has plenty of chopping power because of the wide and thick blade. So definitely quite some heft. And it feels very comfortable in the hand when chopping. So I have had no issues with that whatsoever. Also did some batoning. Again, no problem, does that very well. So what about the sharpness after the tests? Still good. So edge retention does not seem to be a problem. In fact, it's quite good. However, I did run into a problem when I did some prying with this. Whoa. Which, of course, is not something that you're normally supposed to do with a knife, but it's a good test to see how well the steel holds up. The tip snapped off, and now we're left with this. What worries me about this is the tip wasn't even all that fine. So I'm assuming this is an issue with the steel. I'm guessing the tempering might be a little off. Seems somewhat too hard. And again, of course you can argue that, well, you're not supposed to pry with a knife. But here is why I think it's a fair comparison. This knife here, the CRKT Redemption, you can find that one for $200 at Amazon and Knife Center, for example. Whereas the Bowie costs $295. And this one did the prying just fine. As you can see, I stabbed it deeper into the wood and did quite a bit of prying. And the tip is perfectly fine. There's absolutely no damage to it. So considering that, I think it's a fair criticism. This really shouldn't have happened. And since I talked about the price, that's also my main complaint. And I'm sorry to be harsh on this because, well, it was sent to me for free and Adam at Sharp Blades is definitely a nice guy. However, that can't affect my opinion, and this is definitely a problem. I would say this is overpriced. Sorry, but I don't think $295 is quite justified. It's a nice buoy, don't get me wrong, and I like it, but I don't think it's quite up in that price range in terms of quality. The reason for saying that is not just that the tip broke off, but also the finish. I don't think this is a $300 knife finish. I'd say the finish on the blade is a little too rough. If you look at all the marks, yes, sure, it is a design choice. It's an aesthetic style. But even so, I think this is just a bit too rough to really justify the price. And also the shape of the tang and the wood here is just slightly off. You can see the line is a little wobbly. Granted, those are nitpicks. However, $300 nitpicks. And then there's the sheath. It's an interesting design. Definitely fits with the overall aesthetic and it works. However, if you look at this here, that's not what I'd call good craftsmanship. The nails are just kind of sticking out there. And, well, what was that? Yeah, here there's already a piece broken off. Let me see where else. Yeah, there's a nail sticking out. That is very, very rough. Here, that kind of, those extra nails there look kind of like an afterthought. So, yeah, there's some gaps between the wood. I don't know if you can see that. But this here, again, I hate to be that critical, but it kind of looks like a blacksmith's apprentice did this. So to sum it up, what are the pros and cons? Well, what I do like about it is the grip shape. Very nice, fits the hand well, works well, no problem at all. It's a very sturdy, solid construction. Lots of rivets. The handle scales are definitely not going anywhere. The guard here is riveted in place. Again, this is not loosening up at all, so no problem here. And yeah, there's an interesting aesthetic if you're into that. The problems are, well, the high price for the finish, and then the fact that there seems to be an issue with the steel. The tip breaking off, yeah, that is definitely a problem. I could forgive these things in case of $100 knife. Or $150 maybe, I would be a little more, a little less harsh, I guess. But close to $300, I'm having a hard time recommending this one at that price. So, yeah. Take it for what it's worth. That's my opinion. As always, I'm going to post the specifications in the video description down below. And also a link to their website. And, well, that's it. Thanks for watching.